Woo. Morning, everybody. Happy Friday.
Good morning.
Good
Happy Friday.
Morning.
Happy Friday. Good morning, everybody.
I feel like I should have worn my bee costume, just like pretend like I'm popping into the screen, you know?
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. Hello,
Next time.
everybody.
All right, y'all. Welcome to one of our final community meetings. It is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. As you've learned in advisory this week, we want to throw in the Native Hawaiian in there as well. It's really important to acknowledge that. And so today we definitely want to make sure that we continue to lift up the API community, but also understand, just like we've talked about other days that have or months that have passed, you know, whether we've celebrated Filipino Heritage Month or we celebrated Latinx Heritage Month or Black History Month, like those aren't a singular thing where we just say, oh, we do it this month and then we never talk about it again. Those months exist because systematically they've been pushed out of our collective histories that we learn when we're in schools. And so I feel very fortunate to be a part of this community with educators that find it really important and hold it true to themselves to make sure that everyone in this community sees themselves in this community, sees their culture and their heritage be uplifted, and try to bring that in the classroom, in advisory, and in all the things that we do. So we're going to take a quick look at a short video. This is a video that I shared like a month ago from PBS. PBS has an entire series called Asian American, and this video kind of speaks for itself. So I'm going to go ahead and show that.
I grew up with the American dream.
But all Asian immigrants were denied the right of naturalized citizenship. And with the Exclusion Act, the Chinese became the first undocumented immigrants.
The American dream is a lovely dream to have, and so people continue to aspire, enduring whatever it is that they've got to do as immigrants.
Japanese Americans fought on the side of the United States while the rest of their family was incarcerated.
Legal challenges were so important because they did not have political power.
And as much as tragedy is a part of our heritage here, so is possibility.
Asian voices are coming out.
You've got these young people fighting to make change happen.
They had to assert their rights. It was like a genie coming out of the bottle. You couldn't put us back in.
These are stories about what it meant to be human, what it meant to be resilient.
To transform the system into something more just for everyone. That's the hope from which the Asian American movement was born.
Sorry. So I added a little link there. If you are interested, this is a resource. Again, these videos are beautifully put together, well written, and it's also featuring Americans that are telling their own stories, and that's definitely what we want to hear. Not hearing it from a secondary source, we want to hear it from the primary source themselves. So definitely check that resource out. One thing that you're going to notice this community meeting is that I'm going to be sharing a lot of resources because often we don't have access to these things. And so I did quite a bit of research on my own to bring this to you in this community. And I hope that you take the time to check them out. Next thing I want to take a look at is some of the things that have been happening this week in advisory. I went and took a look at the Padlet, and here are some things that folks have shared about what they learned. And as I was looking through the things that folks shared that they learned, I was excited, but I was also a little saddened. I was saddened because the majority of what you see here on the screen was mostly repeated. And I was saddened because this doesn't speak to Asian American and Pacific Islander, Native Hawaiian, like the culture, the history. There's so much more. It's so diverse, and there's so many things to learn that we can't just put it into and fit it into 1 week. And so when I'm talking about sharing resources, you are tasked with looking at a map and figuring out where are some folks in our community coming from? Where do they have ties in other countries, nationalities, etc.? And then to do some research. But if you don't have the correct resources to do that research, you're going to end up getting the stuff that I basically saw on the Padlet. And so I'm going to try and offer more resources with hopes that you not only like take what you've done this week in advisory, but go beyond that. Especially if you saw yourself or didn't see yourself in some of the information that you were looking at. And so stick with us this community meeting. It's going to be informational, but it's also going to be fun because we got a really cool interview coming up for TinyTalks. Joseph and Mia have done a lot of work reaching out to one of our very own community members, someone that is family here at Impact and Envision wide. And so really looking forward to that as well. All right, so my next slide. All right, so the information that you see here is about someone that's very important in Asian American history. She is a lifelong champion of civil rights causes, specifically for the Black, Latino, and Native American and Asian American communities. This image is of Yuri Kochiyama. You can see that there are little stamps here on this side, honoring and pushing to recognize her and the work that she stands for and has done in this country. And so here's a little quote from her. She says, "Fight against racism and polarization. Learn from each other's struggles. Ethnic groups need their own space, but there are enough issues that we could all work on together." And so I like this unifying statement because, again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, we have these individual months to celebrate the heritage of so many different cultures. However, it should be an ongoing process that we're learning about our collective histories and how they are intertwined, right? How they are connected. And so some of the things that I'm really proud to know and have learned about her is going to be shared in this video that I'm going to play in a moment. But she worked alongside Malcolm X. Fun fact. When Malcolm X was a prominent member of the Black Liberation Movement, his work inspired her to take on the Asian American movement in the early 1960s. And so she worked alongside him. She was one of the very last people to be alongside Malcolm X when he died. She held his head, cradled his body when he had died. And so when I say that we are connected, our movements are connected, it's not a false statement, but it's also not something that you often hear about or learn about in our histories. And so this video is going to talk about it from the perspective of her grandchildren and then also people that knew her well. So take a look at this video, and we're going to exit for a moment.
The friendship between my grandma Yuri and Malcolm X is a great example of the power of solidarity and knowing more about your history and how our stories are connected. Yuri Kochiyama was a lifelong activist, a community organizer, and my grandma. Yuri was imprisoned into concentration camps in the beginning of World War II, I think around 18 years old. 1960s, my grandparents moved into public housing in Harlem. It led them to get involved in a lot of civil rights movements. I don't think we understood how unusual it was that, our time with grandma was going to marches and demonstrations and making signs and, all kinds of stuff. While she was at that point a civil rights activist, she would later say meeting Malcolm was her political awakening. He came to visit her at her home at Manhattanville Projects because there was a group of reporters and Hiroshima and Nagasaki bomb victims visiting who were on a peace study mission. And he really understood the connection between their experience and what was happening to Black people in America.
All right.
When Malcolm X went on Hajj to Mecca, he sent 11 postcards to my grandparents, and you could literally trace what's happening with him, his own evolution. They were in each other's lives at a really sort of critical time.
Everybody's fight must be to stop wars, racism, hatred, and the dehumanization of humanity.
We're here at the Yuri and Malcolm mural in Harlem. It's called From Harlem with Love. They were born on the same day. So this May 19th will be Yuri Kochiyama's 100th birthday. The mural has been deteriorating over the last few years, so we wanted to come back here and retouch it and restore it. Yuri often talked about build bridges, not walls. And we're coming out of an administration that, tries to polarize people and tries to sow division, especially people of color.
Over the course of my life, from watching what happened in the 80s with the Black and Korean grocery issue and Rodney King and what happened in LA and watching that. And then more recently, what I have felt is that the whole story lacks historical context. It benefits them for us not to see the solidarity, not to see the common experiences. I think what Yuri and Malcolm's story does in this time is very powerful. It shows a different narrative. There's so many ways we're different from each other. There's so many ways that we can connect with each other.
All right, y'all. Thank you for watching that video
the
along with us.
Between my grandma Yuri and Malcolm X is a great example.
There we go. Thank you for watching that video. So not only do Malcolm X and Yuri Kochiyama share a birthday, there is a movement to get a stamp made in her honor. And so I'm going to be putting on the ticker scrolling across here, a website. If you're interested in signing that petition and getting that to actually move forward, you're welcome to do that. The resource that you see there now is csunite.org, is another website that's really cool and important for you to be able to check out information to learn more about Asian Americans, Asian American solidarity, and specifically UCLA. They're doing in their Asian American Studies website, they're doing work to share lesson plans, curriculum with educators so that they can bring it into kindergarten all the way to college. And so this information is not just for students, this is for our teachers that are here, families. So if you're interested, check out those links. Those are really important. And here's the link to the petition to get the stamp made in honor of Yuri Kochiyama. 18 Million Rising is a website that promotes social activism via digital media. And so when you check out their website, there's lots of petitions and things like that to sign. This is just one of many. But I'm bringing this to light because I think it's something really important. And there are people that are in my own community that I am friends with that I know that are activists pushing for this as well. And so I just wanted in solidarity to share this with our community. So a little bit about CSUnite. It's a cultural campaign designed to accelerate impact and expand support of the AAPI community through solidarity and education. Their ambition is to amplify voices as we unite to change people's perception about what it means to be an American. We will do this by bringing allies and partners together to use our resources and networks to support the on-the-ground work of community organizers, raising awareness, building understanding, and broadening educational efforts about the Asian American experience. So this is their mission statement. This is about them. And so definitely check out that website and learn more about what it is that you can do in support and in solidarity with the AAPI community. So that's my little bit for today. I hope that the links that I provided, you will be able to do your own research and learn a little bit more. I know that researching on the websites or online is really hard because you don't know if sources are actually legit, right? Like anyone could just put up anything on the internet. And so I encourage you this summer, get out there as things start to open back up, get to the library, get a book, do the research. Folks that write books have to do the research. And like when you open the pages, you will see, right, the works that they've cited, the bibliography, all the things that help them create that book. And so that's an easy way for you to know if the sources are legit. Websites, you got to do a little bit more research. You have to look for it. They don't make it very open and known. Books, it's very easy to open a book and find that. So I encourage you, if you love using computers, great, but try and pick up an actual book and see if you can learn a little bit more, not just about your own culture, but the cultures of others. And I'm going to pass it over to Joseph and Mia.
Hello.
I appreciate it.
That video was super good. I'd like to say real quick, thank you for Mr. B for preparing that and talking about that, because I feel like in a lot of times, well, like before I came to Impact, I feel like we only really learned about people of color, you know, that one timeline of the year, that one time, like we'd only talk about slavery during Black History Month, and even then that's not all there is to Black culture. And when we talk about Asian and Pacific Islanders, like that would barely even get talked about, and we barely talk about Native Americans. And even when we did talk about Native Americans, it was only that one slot in the year. So I feel like Impact does a really good job of talking about culture and making it so students feel accepted and they feel like their culture is being learned and taught. And I feel like a lot of times it's hard for students to get in touch with their culture because in so many schools, they're not even being taught about their culture. So it puts it into their own hands, and it feels like if they want to know about their culture, they have to do everything on their own. And if they don't know a lot about their background, you know, their family doesn't know a lot about their background because colonization, that makes it even harder, you know, not being able to learn about your culture in school, not being able to learn at home, and having to put that all on you makes it super hard to learn about your culture. So I like how at Impact, it's easier to learn about your culture and feel accepted with your culture and feel like your culture isn't just being talked about that one time and it's something all year round. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Is there anything you'd like to say, Joseph?
Sorry. I don't think I've ever heard about Asian American Pacific Islander Month until I came to this school, because I know that we do it every year and it's such a huge impact because like I said, like elementary school, I'm pretty sure other middle schools, they probably haven't learned about Asian American Pacific Islander Month yet, or not even like at all. So I'm very thankful to know the history behind AAPI month. So yeah, it's very helpful.
Yep. Thank you. At Impact, we strive to create and maintain a safe space, both physical and virtual, for everyone in this community.
All right, so this Friday we're gonna work on our growth mindset and community. So like every Friday, we gotta make sure we are all respectful to their peers around us, or teachers around other teachers. So like every Friday reminder, this is a safe zone. This space respects all aspects of people, including race, ethnicity, gender expression, sexual orientation, socioeconomic background, age, religion, and ability. Let's all be respectful and mindful of our peers and friends, teachers.
Thank you, Miss Slay. Good job, Simar, for signing. Yes, we do. Okay, let's talk about some birthdays coming up soon.
Yes, happy birthday to all the birthday people. Paola, David, Clea, Little Blue, Amy, Wally, I don't know how to say that name. Connor, Vanessa, Angelina, Hugo, and Trey. Happy birthday, everybody.
Happy birthday. Coming up next. Drum roll. Tiny Talks.
Yes.
Hope you guys like our new little Bitmojis there.
Yes. Oh, go ahead. Thank you everyone for saying happy birthday in the chat and showing support to everybody. Just keep saying happy birthday. Show your community that you care.
Hello? Is anybody there?
Oh, hey, welcome to Tiny Talks. I'm Joseph Johnson. Come in.
Hi, my name is Mia Kendall, and welcome to Tiny Talks.
Woo! Welcome to Tiny Talks, everybody.
Equity in education, to me, means that young people, especially those that are most impacted by inequity, have a strong sense of self, how they're connected to the world, and feel empowered to change the world.
Once you got your peer edits done, underline where those examples and explanations are.
I am originally from Vietnam, and I came to the United States when I was 7 with my family, and I spoke very little English at that time. I discovered that language and education are transformative. And for me and my family, it was about survival. So my first day of high school, I was extremely excited because we moved into a new neighborhood. I came from a pretty poor working class area, and I thought it was a new beginning.
All right, so take a look at this screen real quick.
And the first day of school, it was a geography class, and the teacher said, everyone introduce yourself and tell us where you're born. My heart dropped. I was terrified that people would know that I'm not from this country. And I remember thinking to myself, I hated this country because I don't belong. And then most of all, I hated myself for not having the courage to be who I am. That moment really informed what I wanted to do for young people. I came to Envision because I wanted to impact a whole system.
Whew. Okay, I think this video kind of gave it away in this slide. We will be interviewing Ms. Trong. Please introduce yourself with your name, what would you prefer to be called, and your pronouns, please, and thank you.
Hi, Joseph. Hi, Mia. Thanks for inviting me. Hi, Impact Community. My name is Gia Trung. My pronouns are she and her, and you can call me Miss Trung. Good to be here.
Welcome. Great to have you here. I remember my first time meeting you was 6th grade, evening with Envision.
You were an ambassador. I remember.
All right. We have a list of questions that we'd like to run by. Are you fine with that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm very curious. I know it, but I know some people don't. What is your job title?
I am the CEO or Chief Executive Officer for Envision Education. So, and Envision has 5 schools, as you know, and Impact Middle is one of them. And we also have a consulting division, Envision Learning Partners, where our staff does professional development and coaching with districts and schools across the country. So I lead Envision.
Okay. And then what is it like being a color person in your profession? But it's not just a color person, It's a woman colored. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. Like a woman of color in your job position.
Thanks, Joseph. So I identify as a person of color. I identify as an Asian American. So happy Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month to everyone. I identified as a Southeast Asian, and I'm originally from Vietnam, and I identify also as a refugee and an English learner. So I have lots of identities. And it really, what it means to me is that I feel especially responsible to support other people of color, just as a mentor, as someone who has more privilege and power at this point of my life, to support other folks of color to be able to exercise their innate power, right? We all have power. And it's like, how do we set the conditions so that all people feel like they can exercise their innate power? So I can't answer that question directly, Joseph, but I would say that I feel proud and responsible, and want to make sure that I am a part of working alongside others to make sure that everyone feels powerful.
Thank you. That was a great answer. Mia, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I couldn't find the list, but I'd like to ask you personally, what is some advice you would say to any students of color or any foreign students or any immigrants that would like to know how your journey went to finding your identity in a different country and being able to fit in and feel like you belong with your culture?
Thanks, Mia. I think the advice that I would give students is that always find your network of support and find a mentor, because I feel like where I was successful in my journey wasn't because I did it by myself. It was because I was a part of a group, and I was helped by mentors in everything. When I was a teacher, I looked for a mentor, another Asian American woman to mentor me. When I was a principal, I looked for a mentor. Like, I'm always wanting to grow, and I know that learning and growth mindset is a part of Impact Middle's core values. So I would always say that try to really know that you have a network of support, or build your network of support. You don't have to do it yourself, and that we're not alone, and that we can always support others and they can support us, and together we will be more successful. So that would be the advice I would give Mia.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. And then, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say back to you if you'd like to ask any more questions.
All right, and then I have a question, because you earlier you said you work with 5 other schools. I wanted to know, how do you keep an open line of communication with those other 5 schools, and including us? Yeah.
Thanks, Joseph. I usually say yes when people ask me to do anything. Usually, like, Joseph, you emailed me and asked me to do this, I say yes. When I've been invited to other things, I say yes. It's harder now virtually than it was in person. When it was in person, I really value relationships and community. So I try to always, in every interaction I have with staff, with students, with parents, do it respectfully and be open, and listen really deeply. So I think the way that I try to do it, which is not, it's harder now virtually, is to just build trust every chance I have, and see people, see their full humanity, see where, see where they're coming from, and just be open to being community with folks. So, and I also realize that as you become more when you have more positional power, there's a barrier, right? People don't want to talk to the CEO, or people don't want to talk to the principal, right? Because, of positional power. So I think it's up to all of us to figure out, well, how do we set the conditions where people do want to talk to you, And that, I think partly it's just being open and being respectful and building trust every chance you get.
Thank you. I can tell you're a very giving person and very understanding, because you just make time out of your day to come to little things like this. And I appreciate it. So does the community, commenting and just smiling behind the screens, just watching you entertain. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, Joseph, I want to turn that around. Like, you and Mia and the students at Impact, you are the reasons we're here. You are the reasons we have a job. You are the reasons why we, go to work. You are what we should be here for. So so I would say thank you. Thank you for choosing Impact Middle. Thank you for your leadership. I always want to center young people in our work, right? Because if we center anything else, then we're not doing our job.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'd like to ask something else. I heard you say earlier, you were talking about finding a mentor is a good way to feel safe and feel accepted in your community. I'd like to know how it is to find a mentor, because I know there's probably a lot of students that are scared and don't feel like talking about it, and they feel like they don't belong and they don't know who to talk to. So I'd like to know who you would advise to talk to, or what way to make it more comfortable to be able to talk to somebody.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a really great question. We, depending on our identity, there is, we always have to kind of think about, risk taking, right? As a person of color, sometimes you don't want to say the wrong thing, especially in a very white community. So I remember when I was a first year teacher, my principal, who was white, came to me and said, I want to tell you that so-and-so is going to be your mentor. And it was a white veteran teacher. I have absolutely nothing against that teacher, but I was eyeing the Asian American teacher because she was the only one in the building, and I was the second one, right? Mm-hmm. And I really wanted her, and I was like, oh, do I take the risk and ask to be mentored by her? Are people going to think that I'm disrespectful, or that, that all of those things? And I didn't know, and I'm so glad I took the risk, because I said to the principal, like, this person that you're assigning me to seems great, and I'm really looking for an Asian American mentor. Do you think? And my mentor was Elaine Wetterauer. I said, do you think Elaine would mentor me? And he goes, I don't know. I'll ask. And she has been one of the most influential people in my life. And she mentored me when I was a first year teacher. And I'm so grateful. She passed away from cancer a few years ago. And I remember that she just taught me, like, you need to take a risk and know that you're important and ask for what you need. I didn't do it disrespectfully or anything like that, but and it's so important for folks of color to have a mentor of color that knows your experience. Elaine was born in the Japanese internment camp and went through so much as one of the first Asian teachers in the district. I taught in Seattle. So, I would say, as much as you feel comfortable, and I know that sometimes you don't, take that risk and advocate for what you need, and having someone that looks like you and knows your experience is so important. So, yeah, so that would be sort of my advice. Take risks.
Thank you so much. I have one final question. So this year has been rough for a lot of people. So is last year, because we started kind of last year. Do you, or can you give us some insight of what Impact or Envision will look like next year?
Yeah. So we are a public charter school, right? So most of our funding comes from the state. So we have to follow state guidelines. a few days ago, Governor Newsom announced that SB 98, State Bill 98, is going to sunset. So that was a bill that says we can do distance learning. That's going to sunset at the end of June 30th. And he is expecting, and the state is expecting, that we open up in person for 5 days this fall. So it isn't an Envision thing. It is a statewide thing. So, and we have state guidelines that we have to follow. So we plan to reopen 5 days a week. If health conditions change, the state will also change, and then we might also change, right? But for right now, we plan to be open 5 days a week.
Okay. Thank you so much. Before you head out, I'd just like to know if there's anything that you would like to say on your own, just anything that you'd like to say before you head out to give advice to anybody, or anything you'd just like to say.
Or ask any questions to anybody.
I just want to thank our Envision and our Impact teachers and school leaders and staff. This year has been such a hard year, and I know how hardworking our staff is and our teachers are, and I just want to thank them for everything that they do every single day and how they show up for students and families. And I also know how hard it is for young people, right, to do learning this way. So I want to thank you for your hard work and persistence. And I'm really also just looking forward to being in person with all of you again.
Yeah. These Fridays, I think Fridays because I like Fridays. I don't know why. Because we get the time, because usually during the school week, we get very little time when we get home to do our extra work. Fridays, we get home, we do our work. Like, we don't even get home. We stay home, we do our work, and then we get on Zoom. But yeah, thank you again so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mia and Joseph, for inviting me.
Bye. Bye. And thank you, Miss Patel and Mr. Tan with my email and helping me with ideas. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Joseph, you cut out a little bit.
Did you hear most of it?
I heard that you're saying thank you to Miss Patel and who's
Mr. Tang.
Mr. Tang, yeah, you're saying thank you to them for helping you.
Yeah.
Yep. Coming up.
Oh my God.
Happy Memorial Day. I'm kind of excited for Memorial Day. Oh, you loading, Joseph?
Huh?
Oh, you're just
I'm
glitching
lagging.
out.
Yeah.
Say thank you to anybody that you know that was in the military or that served.
You muted, Mr. B.
Have a happy 3-day weekend.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Where's the music?
Yeah, there was some music this meeting.
Where's the music? Oh, wait. I think we have a secret video again.
Ooh.
Loki, I kind of want to pick it up. Pick it up. I need a cup. Give me a cup. Oh, yeah. What the heck?
Need a cup. Give me a cup. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.